Hey, it's Dr. Kre. Welcome everyone to Dr. Kre Me, the Dr. Kre Me show. Tonight we're going to talk about 6 links between birth control and breast cancer. If you have been watching the news lately, then you are aware there's been some conversations about breast cancer and the risk being increased on those women that have been on birth control. So tonight I figured it'd be easy for us to talk about that, be something interesting, because so when you hear about it on the news, you can kind of have a better understanding of it all. So when you get here, say hello, drop your name in the chat so I can properly greet you. Hey Tanya, how you doing? I saw your mama today. She looked really good. Let's see. We are just going to, like I said, talk about breast cancer and the link to being on birth control pills. And we're going to get started. We're going to go ahead and get started. So you know who I am. I'm Dr. Kre. I am your board certified family medicine physician, and I specialize in what's important to you through my practical tips, my telehealth, my concierge medicine practice. Hey, Cherie. And my practice, my general medicine practice, I help my patients realize that there's actually more to life and more to living than just going through the motions, just taking medicines for the sake of taking medicines. We want you to know why you're taking what you're taking. We want you to be empowered with the right questions for your doctors. We want you to just feel like you are in control of your health, because it is your health. Hey, Latour. And tonight we're going to talk about 6 links between breast cancer and oral contraceptives, or even an IUD. So this week, the New York Times broke about a study that was actually conducted in Denmark, where it showed that they had followed these women over about 11 years. And over the 11 years, they realized that there was about a 30% increase in risk of breast cancer with women who were actually on oral contraceptive pills. So know that there are different kind of birth control pills. There are some pills that are just progesterone only. You got some that have estrogen, some that have progesterone. A lot of the IUD has progesterone only. Now you have the NovaSure. No, not NovaSure. I can't think of the name of her. Of the one where you put it in your that you get it put in your arm. God Lord. But anyway, you got the one where they put the progesterone only medication in your arm. They used to do it a lot when we was younger. Then it fell out of favor because you have to be a certain weight usually, because they go right up under the skin and put the medication in the Implanon. That's the name of the Implanon. Norplanon now, but back in the day it was called Implanon. So there's like tons and tons and tons of birth control out there. So number 1, the breast cancer study was in Denmark, and it looked at women that were less than 50 years old, and there was an increase of about 30% in breast cancer if the woman had been on birth control for more than 10 years. Well, that's about everybody in the world, because I know that when we went to school, it looked like as soon as you got to school, they made you go see the health doctor. Anybody had a the own school or on campus doctor, or was a nurse. We had a nurse practitioner on campus, and everybody walked out of there, whether you was doing it or not. You had birth control, looked like you had condoms. They just empowered you, or whatever. Or parents, a lot of parents will bring their kids in and say, hey, she's about 16 years old. Let's go ahead on and get on. Let's put on birth control just to be safe. So it's some things that we need to consider when we're doing it, because if you put her on birth control at 18 and she stays on it until she gets married at 28, that's 10 years of being on birth control, which is a long time. So number 1, this study was actually conducted in Denmark over 11-year period. Over 10-year period time. The next one, so risk for women who have not taken any oral contraceptives, not been on any hormones, the basic risk is about 20% for increased risk of not ovarian, but breast cancer. So this study showed about an 18% increase, which is a substantial increase if you in that 18%, so it's like, let's be clear that even though 20% is on the mark and it's not 30%, but 30% is still sizable. So make sure to share the post if you don't mind, so we can teach everyone about the link between breast cancer and oral contraceptives. So number 3, breast cancer still is very, very rare in young women. So I have about 3 patients who are in their 20s that have survived breast cancer, that are breast cancer survivors, that are like several years out from their breast cancer diagnosis. A lot of those women have genetic markers. So my question would be, with this study, how many women actually had genetic markers and were predisposed to being predisposed to breast cancer just by being alive, because it already ran in their family? Breast cancer runs in our family. Like, I have a great aunt, she had breast cancer. I got a cousin, she had breast cancer. Her brother had breast cancer. Her sister had ovarian cancer. My grandmother had ovarian cancer. So that link is there. So then there's always this question of, what is their genetic link? Well, let me stop right there and educate you about insurance companies. Hey, Andrea. FYI, insurance companies not out there just letting you get, genetic testing. So if you come in and you say, my mom had it, my grandmother had it, my sister had it, you might be able to just get the genetic testing done by your primary care doctor. But you have to be of Ashkenazi Jewish descent. They pay for it right there and there. So you have to meet these certain criteria for them to cover it. Otherwise, I have an amazing friend that I recommend. Her name is Dr. Princess Thomas. She is the breast doctor here in Birmingham, and I refer them to her. And I'm like, listen, they may be at risk for having recurrent illnesses, and may have some dense breasts. They're at risk for having breast cancer because their mom had it, their grandmother had it, their aunt had it. So just be mindful that you need them to be watched. Well, she can do some magic, I'm pretty sure, and figure out how to get the right test done so that your insurance will pay for your genetic testing. So when in doubt, if your primary care doctor cannot, I'm sure they have some great people that they can refer you to. So number 1 about these links. Number 1, the study was done in Denmark, and it was done on women less than 50 years old. Number 2, risk factor with no hormones on board is about 20%. Number 3, breast cancer is still very, very, very rare in young women. I got off track. So I have these 3 women in my practice, and one of them for sure is triple negative. That's like the really, 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 really like this really runs in your family. And she may be 30 something now. So she's been on her journey for a good little while. Another one, she's 27, and she is now taking her medicine for continued remission. So young women are getting it. So just because you feel a lump and you're 28 years old does not mean that you should not get it checked out. Please be mindful, tell your doctor. But let's talk about lumps as I take a commercial break. Breast cancer usually does not hurt. I say usually because there will always be an outlier that proves me wrong. It feels like, you remember, if you lived in the country, you know about those smooth rocks. They got those smooth rocks. They real hard and smooth. And like the perfect rocks for throwing in the water, to skip across the water or the lake. That hard, smooth rock is about the best interpretation or description that I can give for what breast cancer feels like. It's just sitting there. It's not bothering you really, but it's bothering me because I felt it, and it feels like a hard rock. It didn't hurt. And a lot of the women say, well, it's not bothering me. It's just there. And I'm like, but it doesn't supposed to be there. When you have lumps that are changing as the month goes on, those are normal lumps. Those are what we call fibrocystic changes that kind of come and go because your hormones change because you are eating too much chocolate, you are drinking too much coffee, drinking too much caffeine. Those can cause you to have lumpy bumps, and a lot of times that's very tender. They can be big and solid like those rocks that I described. But a lot of times they're mobile. So if you put a grape in a bag and you close your eyes and you feel that, that grape is it's something in there, but it's mobile. So those are usually benign lumps. So if you have a lump, your nipple is retracting or changing, or feel like your breast size is shrinking, and then there you have this big rock there, that's a problem. Just had a 40-something-year-old lady to get diagnosed. I mean, she was adamant, it's something going on with my breast. You're 40 years old. That's not the first thing on our mind. I'm like, no, let's send her to Dr. Thomas. Dr. Thomas is amazing. So if you have to see someone, it's always great to see a woman. So she is, if you're in the Birmingham area, I'm having a business dinner, just dropped into the show. Hey, Keisha, we're talking about the new breast cancer study that came out that said that women on birth control pills are actually at higher risk for breast cancer. So enjoy your dinner. Have a steak for me. So number 4. Okay, so let's talk about what protection that you can get from oral contraceptives. So they're not all bad. Oral contraceptives can actually prevent ovarian cancer. As I said, my grandmother had ovarian cancer, so I'm on birth control, and I'm going to stay on birth control because I want to keep those ovaries not just working and growing and all that kind of stuff, because that's a part of. I know that's in my family history, and I know birth control helps it. So I'm like, okay, we're going to do this until we get tired and y'all want to take all that stuff out and just take it and do something with it. But for the most part, yes, ovarian cancer is a preventative. Oral contraceptives can prevent you from having ovarian cancer. Dog, Jessica Snow has an infarction in her spleen because, yes, you're going on along with my next point. So number 5 is some other things that's creative that oral contraceptives can do. They actually can increase your risk of having what's called liver, like tumors on your liver, and actually liver cancer. So a lot of times, if you're like, you have these women, they've been on birth control for a long time, they randomly have to get their, maybe they're checking their gallbladder, and inadvertently they're like, oh, there's a hemangioma or something on her liver. They look into it a little bit deeper. A lot of times it correlates with being on birth control. So oral contraceptives, yes, they do increase your risk of getting breast cancer, but usually it's breast cancer in the older woman, because a lot of times most women are diagnosed after the age of 50. However, with technology being the way it is, I'm seeing a lot of women getting diagnosed earlier and earlier and earlier. So they're getting treated early and early and earlier. So part of me is like, well, what is the lead bias on this study? What is it? Like how much of it is they were going to get breast cancer and our technology is amazing, so we want to find it anyway, versus, yes, it really is, you were on birth control X amount of time. So to me, I have some questions. But lastly, number 6, the biggest point is you have to weigh risk versus benefits. So, like there's still a lot of benefits that come along with taking the birth control. You not having another baby, or 5 babies, or 7 babies, whatever. That is, that's a benefit. The benefit of not being protected against ovarian cancer. The number of women that have liver issues, cancer issues is slim. So we have to, when you make this decision, that decision isn't really a decision for you to make as way of, oh my goodness, this is what no women should be on birth control. That's not what this study is saying. It's saying weigh your risk, weigh your benefits. Let's see. Roxanne says, what if you were off and on birth control throughout your life? Okay, the study also mentioned that. The study mentioned that when you stop birth control, your risk doesn't drastically stop right then. So after years of not being on the birth control or being off the birth control, your risk kind of decreases. So the longer that you've been off of it, your risk goes down. So just FYI, if you come off of it, your risk improves. Hey, Jason, Jessica has an infarction on her spleen because of that birth control pill. So we talked about liver involvement. And hey, Miss Rogers, I hope you have a good Christmas. Hope you're feeling good. So let's recap. So number 1, this big study that the New York Times and everyone has been talking about that relates breast cancer to birth control. It was done in Denmark, and it was done over 10-year periods, and it was found to increase the risk of women gaining breast cancer in about 30%. So number 2, the women, if you've never been on birth control, your risk is already at about 20%. So we have bumped some, and that's not to be taken lightly. Just keep that in the back of your mind. Number 3, breast cancer rates are still pretty low with women less than 50 years old, even though we're finding them earlier. That's because Americans' technology is amazing. The technology is great, so we're able to find things like we need to. Number 4, OCPs or oral contraceptives still help prevent against ovarian cancer. Number 5, there are other side effects of birth control, i.e., blood clots. Blood clot is one thing. Especially if you're a smoker. Hey, Aunt Jackie. If you're a smoker, liver involvement, it can increase your chance of getting liver infection. And if you're a woman and you have the IUD, you're at increased risk of getting recurrent vaginal infections. That's just the way of the land. Something about having an IUD. I don't know if it's the foreign body that's there, but you are at risk of getting more vaginal bacterial infections. And number 6, to each his own. Weigh your risk outweigh the benefits. So put you in your situation on. You know your family history better than anyone else. And just kind of go with that. Let's see. Thanks for your live sessions. Are very informative and helpful. Anybody have any questions? Those are our 6 tips. So if we don't have any questions, you know who I am. I'm Dr. Kre. I am a board certified family medicine physician, and I specialize in what's important to you through my one-on-one coaching. I do some telehealth, some concierge medicine, my regular practice. I'm actually located here in Birmingham, Alabama. We got people from everywhere. I see Georgia here. I see Pennsylvania here. We highly recommend Maryland here. So we are all over. Thank y'all for joining us, and know that I come here to help you learn to have a healthier, happier life. I want you to be empowered and know what questions to ask your doctor, what questions and concerns to have, and so that you only gonna get a few minutes with your doctor. So write your notes and have your words together so that you can just be like, okay, Dr. Kre said I need to ask you about this. And also, if you're interested in working with me and doing a discovery call with me, trying to even second opinions, whatever it is, telehealth visits, I will leave the link in the bio or in the introduction, and I'll leave the link here. But otherwise, you can get my free bonus that I've been giving away for the last couple of weeks about why having sex is better for you. It's good for your health. Having more sex is good for health. Yes, it is. And you can find that at coaching.workingwivesclub.com/Dr. Kre. That's DRKRE/ again. I'll put that link in there. Put your email address in. Make sure it may go to your spam, but in a couple of days you'll get the link, and it's me automating it. So you know it's fun. So again, that's coaching.workingwivesclub.com//Dr. Kre, DRKRE/ again. It's birth control linked to fibroids. I don't think there's been any true link to fibroids. A lot of times doctors put patients on fibroid medication to help kind of shrink, because you're kind of keeping all of that down, especially you got large fibroids. But as African American women, we are at risk for having fibroids. Not really sure what that risk factor is, but just if you look back in your family, like my mom had a hysterectomy in her 30s because she had large fibroids. All of my aunts just about had hysterectomies except for my grandmother. She was the only one to get ovarian cancer. She left those girl parts in there a little too long, I guess. So be mindful that a lot of that is genetics as well. Hey, Kim West. You said my cousin suffered from a blood clot. So once you have a blood clot from birth control, they will not let you get back on them. So just be mindful of that. So be mindful of yourself. Be aware of yourself. And I will see you guys on next Monday. Let me know if it's something out there you want to talk about. I will be looking in the news and see what's going on, and we'll talk about educating on that. Next week, we may talk about the health disparity of why African American women die in childbirth. I talked about it a little bit on my personal page and shared it on my Dr. Kre page. If you're not following me already, follow me on Dr. Kre at DOCTORKRE. Hey, from Atlanta, Georgia. Yes. Good. Hey, Miss Deborah. Hey, Miss Daniel. Thank you guys for coming. Hey, Marquita. You can listen to the playback. Please share this on your page. This is very important information. If you are want to see me, I'll be here next week, and I would love to speak at any of your engagements. So just give me a buzz. I am going to leave that scheduling link there. What can we suggest that give her to get rid of them? You really can't get rid of them. They're not there and they're not moving like that. They're like encapsulated in the liver itself. So really, you just kind of watch it. I just finished reading an article about that. Yes, about the disparity. So I'm gonna do some more research on that. We'll talk about that. Hey, Roxanne, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you guys have a wonderful night. I got a telemedicine call to do. See you. Hey, Sandria.